it is just kind of the story of inclusivity in terms of that we're feeling, and I think that the whole sort of like the brand of Sophie and how it's travelled and how it's got bigger has gone to represent probably more than what it did originally in terms of branching over into I mean that inclusivity of sort of like people from sort of like LGBT backgrounds and things like that. It's just so great to come here, and it's like anyone can come here, and there's such a misconception because everyone's wearing black and everyone's got big beards and stuff like that, but everyone's just so happy.
Yeah. Hello boys and girls, what's going on? It's Tom.
And it's Jamie. Welcome to the Chronicles of Podcast.
The Chronicles of Bloodstock 2023.
And as I look around here at this festival, I realize we are a nation of people across the world, not just here in the UK, but everywhere that we've gone in this world. There are many of us. You are not alone. Solidarity to all my brothers and sisters.
People feel like they're in that secluded like bubble when it's all going on, but actually when you listen to so many people coming out and saying, you know, this is what happened, there's so many people with shared experiences. We're not alone in the community. We've got so many people who are doing, you know, the same things, experiencing the same things. It's so nice to see a community come together as much as they have a Bloodstock.
Sometimes when you're being treated differently and looked down on, it's easy to feel like you're all alone in this, and maybe even feel like it's your fault. But the one thing you must never forget is that you're never alone, and you're not the only one being treated this way for simply wanting to express yourself and for wanting to be a part of this beautiful community we have all built.
So I had a nose ring and an undercut and wore Doc Martens and dressed in gypsy skirts, and people just didn't take to that because there was only a very few people at my school that dressed like that, me and my best friend being the main. So I was quite heavily bullied at school. So I know how it feels, absolutely how it feels. And that's, you know, that was just how I was. And I sort of, it sounds an awful thing to say, I kind of got used to it and accepted it because I thought, well, I'm never going to look like the popular girls, and I'm never going to look different to how I look. So I 100%, this is why I guess for me it's quite raw. Even now, you know, I see sometimes the girls that are fully grown adults now that used to bully me at school, and you know, I don't know them anymore personally, but I still sometimes think, do they know the profound effect it can have on somebody when they're victimised or they're bullied or they're treated differently?
Yeah. Is this something you guys ever had to endure when you were growing up, being treated differently because of long hair, music you listened to?
I don't think you're going to find anyone in this field that wasn't bullied as a kid.
Yeah.
That's just why we're here.
Because we're allowed.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a garrison town looking like this in the 80s and 90s when, before, you know, squaddies found out that they could use metal music to torture prisoners in Iraq. You know, so they didn't accept us at all at that point, and it was just, there's more than one night in Colchester then that I had to run away from paratroopers because they were just going to come and annihilate us for being different. Jeez. It's not that bad anymore, thankfully, not even in Colchester, but yeah. That was a fun town to grow up in when you were a skinny, lanky, tall kid who was just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I like power metal. I like Metallica and Megadeth. Oh, fuck, it's the squaddies, run!
And so, like, being a guy who, like, has been wearing makeup since, like, I was 15, I used to have to walk about an hour to work and back, and every day someone would throw shit at me. Like, not every day, but, like, more often than not. It would be weird if it didn't happen. So, like, and I know friends who've like, had some horrific experiences simply because the way they choose to present themselves.
I work in a school, and when I originally started working in a school, I was treated differently, not just by the children. You know, you'd have issues with the children because you were weird and different, and they didn't know it, they couldn't accept it because they didn't know it and understand it, and they weren't brought up with it. But even to a certain degree, the staff, when they started, you know, you had to take your piercings out and all the rest of it. Tattoos were a no-no. Whereas now, I wear my piercings at work, my head is very supportive, same head teacher. There was a gentleman that used to work with me, and he had tats all the way down to his knuckles, and that was also fine. 10, 20 years ago, absolutely not.
Yeah,
that would have been a massive issue.
I mean, we've both worked in hospitality before, and I've served customers and just been like, oh, there you go, there's your drink, there's this, and they'll almost give a sort of look of, or not say anything. I'm a bit like, that's a bit like, I don't know why they were like that. And then I catch a glimpse in the mirror and I'm like, It might have something to do with that, and I get that, you know, but there are some things that need to be worked on, developed, just with preconceptions about people, and just don't be a dick.
The amount of times you've heard that, yeah. It's so true.
I think I get off pretty lightly, looking like an everyday dude. No, I've got no piercings, I've got one tattoo that isn't on show most of the time. So I get off easy compared to some of our other guys.
As they stand there, they go, me!
Yeah, including our bassist off camera. Yeah, there it is.
Right there.
I have a fringe.
I don't.
And I wish I still did.
All the time. I got my head caved in fucking in a Leeds just outside of Oldham, walking back from the pub. Fucking about a gang of like 8 lads stove me and my mate's head in. I woke up and they're stamping on my head, and like police were involved, and then like my missus, you know, she had so much abuse.
Explains this, doesn't it?
But yeah, but like, I mean, you must have. I mean,
20 years ago, like you grew your hair long and you were weird and different. And it's
well,
like
now it's
and hopefully now it's different. But like you grew your hair long and like at the school I went to, you wore your backpack on 2 shoulders. You were goth and you were weird and you were different. And it's like it's just fucking crazy. And it gave you thick skin. And like you had to, if you had thick skin, you could get on with it. If not, like it was terrible, man. Terrible.
When I was younger, I still had this long hair, you know, still dressed in black. It's something I really struggled with. Like, I grew up in a tiny little pit village in the northeast of England, and it just wasn't really what they were used to seeing, you know, like really lots of toxic masculinity, lots of homophobia and stuff like that. So from literally like 5-year-old, I had school teachers telling me to cut my hair and saying that I look ridiculous. And I'm like, you're telling a little child to cut your hair. Do you know what I mean? Like, how ridiculous is that? And like, obviously that's quite a small thing, but it's kind of echoes throughout like my life in kind of that kind of environment. So it's a really important thing for me. I've never in my life had short hair. As kind of like a middle finger to those people who've kind of like, again, it's such a tiny little rebellion, but I love it.
It's your choice, it's your fucking hair.
Exactly.
So to that, because my father was not really familiar with long hairs, and he just was like absolutely disgusted about it, and he said, "Man, just don't do this. You know, you're my son." And but now it's okay. You like my hair, so it's my red hairs because now it's the different colors. But this is just because sometimes maybe he doesn't really accept it because he'd never seen this thing before, because he was into this what can I say, well, it's echo chamber, maybe. I don't know what it is, I don't know what the name is, but it's like being into his own world without changing his mind, or maybe because he never seen a metal show before, but now he really like it. He goes at every shows, and it changed. So yeah.
It's where we find out the red hair was your dad's idea. Who's like, I saw a guy with red hair, son. You should do that.
Oh, maybe I can do that too. My father told me.
You'll get home. He's got red hair.
And maybe long hair too.
Being the only kind of goth in the village kind of thing, I've had it a lot. I mean, even walking down the street in a city or anything like that, you'd think with cities that there'd be a bit more respect for the alternative crowd. I do like the fact that in modern times, since alternative fashion has become so ubiquitous around the kind of pop world, it's become a bit more respected, but the actual listening of metal and all is kind of still frowned upon. It's weird. A lot of the kind of almost hip-hop scene has kind of embraced the metal sound and all this, with bands like Scarlord and all this kind of stuff being respected and open to a more kind of pop-centric, world. But still, we get the abuse. We still get shouted goth in the scene. We still get all the abuse. I mean, a friend of mine got punched only a few weeks ago for having long hair. Or get a haircut. I still get it in the street. I'm in my 30s. You'd think that by the time you got out of your teenage years, it'd be done. But it's 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds that just can't embrace the fact that people are different.
I don't understand it. I really don't. It is starting to get better.
You know, in high school, being called a freak and, you know, people looking at me the wrong way and trying to start fights with me. Absolutely. But I took pride in that. You know, to me, it made me gravitate more to people like me, the freaks and the geeks and the hardcore kids and the punk rockers and the metalheads. That's why we're all here today. We all can relate to that type of behavior because society is just, you know, normalized to a degree where if you step outside of these boundary lines, then for some reason people get aggressive with that. And it just blows my mind. So for me, it's empowered me, but absolutely. And coming from a very hyper-religious background, you know, the devil's music, all that, I was always seen as sort of the black sheep of the family for sure. But thankfully, my parents allowed me to get into it. And my mom would actually come to shows to support me when I was young. So I had the support. But yeah, in school, of course, I got picked on. But again, if you're listening and you're a young person and you're getting picked on, take pride in the fact that you're different because you can make a career out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I grew up in a small village in Dorset, and like there were like 2 other people that listened to like rock or metal, but generally speaking, there was a lot of like, you know, oh, when are you going to grow out of this phase? When's this all going to end? Like, or like from, you know, older people or from like people your own age, it'd be like, oh, so it's fucking Grebos or whatever, you know. Like I remember the very first gig I ever went to. We finished, I went to the car park, a load of chavs got out, tried to beat us up.
What the
Yeah. I was 16 and I was just like, oh, it didn't stop me going to another one though. I told my mum I fell over because I didn't want her to know. Mum, if you're listening, I still fell over.
But the key word you said there was load of.
Yeah.
So many people we've interviewed, 8 people, 20 people.
It was two cars. I remember 2 cars pulled up and they just got out and they were like, oh, you fucking goths. And I was like, what's going on?
God.
And that was it. Just tried to start on us and we had to run. And, you know, they did. I don't know, man. Like, I'm 32. I don't really think about that too much now.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, it was formulative in my sort of way of thinking that, like, this is we all need to stick together because, you know.
100%.
Thing is, like, a lot of saying about the groups of like 8 and 20, a lot of these acts of kind of hatred and bigotry and like coming from this place of judgment, it's motivated by cowardice and fear. A lot of the time.
100%.
They don't like things they don't understand. They don't like things that are different to them.
Yeah.
And that's why people. I mean, I've been beaten up when I was a kid as well. You know, it's not good. It's not. Something...
Just going back to what you're both saying, you know, how you said, you know, someone tried to and did commit physical violence to you guys because of the way you dress. Just out of interest, did you report it to the police or anything like that?
No, it didn't seem like it would get anything done.
No. Is there a particular reason why you didn't think that?
I was in an unfamiliar town. I didn't know anyone there. I didn't know anything. I just wanted to go home, really. I like I say, I remember my stepdad picked me up. I told him what happened, and like I say, on the way home, he was like, "We'll not tell your mother that's what happened." So I tried to forget it really happened, you know. But there's a distrust, like, not... I don't know. Oh God, I don't really want to touch the police subject. Too far. But there's like a bit of there's a lack of confidence. That's what I will say. There's a lack of confidence. Like that's how you felt, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, I was a kid and I was lucky. I wasn't really seriously beaten up or anything. Just
Yeah,
it wasn't amazing. So it didn't seem like it was really, just went home, shrugged it off, carried on.
No, it's absolutely. It's just interesting to find out because. The foundation recently did a survey asking people about their experiences of mine, and I think it was 87% of people said they didn't bother reporting because they didn't think they'd be taken seriously.
So it's shocking in this country. From what I understand, sexual assaults, only like 2% get prosecuted of sexual assaults or something like that. It's absolutely disgusting. You know,
it really is.
Yeah, but don't start me on politics, otherwise you'll be here. You'll be here for hours.
We won't say the T word. No.
Oh, I will. There'll be an F and 2 T's. Get away that one.
And I'm right behind you.
So just quickly go back.
We've all been called sweaty, haven't we?
Today, yes.
Yeah, I got the shit kicked out of me in a park once. That was fun by like 20 shavs. So, yeah,
Jesus.
just because of the t-shirts I was wearing. So yeah, I think, like Martin says, there's a lot of people, in this culture, in this area that have all experienced something like that.
Just out of interest, because this is something that the foundation is trying to find out in a minute. Did you report that?
No.
No. Do you mind me asking why?
I don't know. Like, just embarrassed, I guess. Like, that's part of it. Yeah, I just literally, it happened. I got on the bus. I went out and got drunk that night. And, like, just didn't say anything. So I think it's almost accepted. Certainly at that point when it happened to me, it was just like, oh, it's just one of those things. At some point in your life, you're going to get the shit kicked out of you.
And that right there is part of the problem.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be, oh, I dress like this, I'm bound to get the shit kicked out of me at some point.
Even though you may know that you're not alone, that doesn't stop you feeling like you are. It doesn't stop you feeling isolated, like you have nowhere to turn, nowhere you can go to truly be yourself without looking over your shoulder and not feeling like you have to wear a mask for the people outside. That's why places like Bloodstock are so important. A place to be yourself and be amongst like-minded people.
This whole thing is just a celebration of metal. You know, everyone is, as we were saying, everyone is just so happy to be here. They're all receptive to talking to complete strangers because they all know that we have the same passion for it, basically.
And I think it all comes with passion and love, and that's the most important thing about festival vibes. So like wherever you go, you always see people are so happy and genuine just to be here and sharing the memory and honouring Sophie. That's the most important thing as well. And what a way to do it.
Absolutely. You could come to Bloodstock Festival dressed, you
whatever you want.
You fucking said it today. You can come in a tutu. You can come dressed as a inflatable spam, inflatable
full armour,
inflatable unicorn. Anything you want, and no one cares. I mean, we appreciate it. No one cares. It's amazing, and to be part of that, I love it. Because we've all grown up in like small villages and towns, and it's like we're the weird ones, as you can tell, and to come to somewhere 20,000 of us in a field in Derbyshire is amazing. It's great. Yeah. It's a celebration of that, and the weirder the better, man.
I think it's nice that people can be unapologetically them, without compromise, without concern of any kind of judgment or angst from anybody else. And I love to see people just being who they are, because it's allowing people to be true to themselves, and that's a rarity in this modern society. People
going to a festival like this, and you see all sorts of fashion. For example, everybody just wears whatever the fuck they want, and it should be like that. I mean, you shouldn't care too much for that. I mean, just do whatever you feel like. Be respectful to other people. You don't know what's behind whatever they're wearing. You don't know their stories, so what's the best way to do is just get involved with people, talk to them, understand them, and debating topics and talking to people is the best way to learn and to change your own view or other people's views. And I feel all the crazy shit we see these days, it's just people angry on the internet because they don't fucking socialize with anybody. I mean, it's good to have your own space, but if you're gonna be this fucking cranky ass person on the internet, you're never going to change your views on the world.
That's the beauty of festivals like this. You get to meet a lot of people who are just like you, and there's nothing better than that when you feel like you're not alone in this world when it comes to the way you think, the way you dress, the way you act, your sexual preferences, your whatever the case may be. You're not alone, and I think it's super important for people to hear and to be around other people who feel the same way. So festivals like this, love it. Beautiful. You see all these people commingling, and we're all weirdos and freaks and geeks and all that stuff. It's a lovely thing.
And one of the biggest epiphanies of my life was the first time I went to a metal festival, and I was a grown-up. And I was like, this is so much better than any other festival that I've ever been to in my life, because people are nice. People are nice, seriously. People are nice to each other. And that's rare. It doesn't happen in other kinds of festivals. This kind of community is special. It's really, really precious.
Festivals generally are a big family situation. People of all ages, every interest you can imagine, and that's what people like Sophie would have wanted. Really, it's not about segregating; it's one thing. And they couldn't imagine anything better to celebrate that other than a festival where everyone is happy.
This is a big community, and everyone's a big family, and the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is a big part of that. So the fact that I'll say it for everyone when I say we have the absolute honour to play this festival, it means the world.
It feels like home.
Yeah. Again, absolute fire from Callum.
This guy. Festivals like today is a great place. It's a great thing for everyone to come and just feel unified.
Just do what the fuck they want, be who they want to be, and not get judged for it. And to be fair, that shouldn't just happen at a festival. They can do what the fuck when they want at home, And it's. But this is why I like big festivals, man. people
It's
just
the metal community in general. Like, I always find, obviously, we travel to all sorts of countries where we can't even speak the same language as people. But the one thing that unifies you is you walk into that venue and everyone's there for the same fucking reason. And there's that thing of like, it doesn't matter, kind of what your favourite band is, what your subgenre or whatever this is. Everyone's just kind of like, if someone's into metal, you've got that thing where you can just like, yeah, man. Yeah, man. Like,
little head nod.
You get each other, and I think that's why the metal community obviously drew us in. That's why we want to be a part of it.
They say that, don't they? It's the silent language of the metalhead. You see each other in a band t-shirt. Like,
yeah,
dude.
Yeah, that's it. You're like, oh fucking hell, where'd you get that one? I want it.
Yeah. Probably Primark.
At this point, yeah.
Same place I got my Nirvana tracksuit, thank you.
At the end of the day, if there's one thing that unites metalers, it doesn't matter if you like prog metal or thrash metal, black metal, death metal, there is that sort of underground community thing that I really like. There's that, it's okay to be a misfit. One of the things I love about out there in the festival grounds is if you want to walk around with, your master on a dog lead, that's totally acceptable. I've seen every kind of wingnut. I've seen guys dressed up as, there's a guy dressed up as a baby. There's a guy running around dressed up. You can dress up as Darth Vader. You want? Yeah.
I saw him.
Yeah. It's amazing. There's a guy I got a photo with yesterday, and he was just dressed up as a penis. I was like, excuse me, I need a photograph to show my mum back home. I've seen every age here. I've seen, there was a lady walk past, and she must have been in her 70s, but she was walking around with her Megadeth t-shirt on. I was like, that is wicked.
And everyone's looked after.
It's amazing. Everyone's taken care of. It's a beautiful festival.
My little girl came last year, and we got this amazing picture when Ginger knocked all the beach ball things out, and she's just playing with this beach ball with 10 of the biggest bikery bearded metalheads you've ever seen, just throwing the ball, and they did it for about 30 minutes, do you know what I mean? They could have easily done it for 2 minutes and then just gone, I'm going to go get some beer. They literally, just watching bands, just knocking a ball back and forth with her.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's a massive thing to us that they grow up, just experiencing that.
Well, Bloodstock truly has become the spiritual home of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation because support comes from all over the festival grounds, whether it's the bands, whether it's the public, whether it's the staff out front or the staff backstage. No matter who it is, so many people are flying that flag and spreading that message for Sophie and inclusiveness in the world.
The relationship that we've had with the foundation has been, immensely important to us and everybody that comes to the festival. And obviously with Sylvie's passing, it's more poignant than ever that we sort of keep that going and we emphasise that relationship even further. And I think it's something that when the focus tends to sort of slip away, if you just do what you've always done to the fact that it's underplayed or understated, people can forget. And we don't want that. We want to keep reinforcing the message and reinforcing that relationship so that people keep that in mind whenever they're out and about and they've got that support network that's around them and that's out there. And it's the backbone of one of the backbones of Bloodstock, I think, with the Sophie stage and the whole relationship that we've had over time. So, we'll keep doing that and we'll keep trying to reinvent it. It's a solid relationship that we'll always support.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a song on the new album called Disfavor, which is about living life the way you want to, and kind of saying screw you to all people who don't agree with that. It's people should be able to do whatever they want to do and not be criticised or attacked or all the rest of it for living the way you want to live. It's out of jealousy at the end of the day that people criticise that. Chances are they're boring people.
The thing is, as a band, we're very empathetic, we're very pro-minority, we're very pro any kind of thing. We don't support hate or intolerance in any sort of way, so to be able to kind of bring some of our message with that to the Sophie stage and have that connection it's a good thing for us, it's important,
This is something we have in our band in general. Every song we have is about tolerance, it's about inclusion, not especially because, about the look that you have, but we have one song in particular named Blanc Masses Inheritance, and we put it on the set list just for today because we heard about Sophie Lancaster Foundation, and of course this song is kind of related to the message behind. So we thought it was a good one to choose for this show instead of another one we played last week. So yes, we have a new special song from today.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's not a new one, but it's a special one.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Billy from Biohazard, when he did the jiu-jitsu in the arena, he actually had 3 buckets around his little thing, and he was like, anyone wants to put any donations in, it'll go straight to Sophie Lancaster. And he hit me up. He Googled it, and he was like, I've read all about why the second stage is called the Sophie Lancaster stage and all about it. He says it's absolutely broke my heart. He said, so I'm going to do this thing, and then if anyone wants to give money, we'll put buckets around the side. And he raised quite a lot with people just literally, because he did it for sort of 2 hours as a little jiu-jitsu event. And it means bands are brilliant. I mean, I can't fault the bands that support it. And still now, there's a lot of bands that obviously play Bloodstock, that play the Sophie stage, that don't necessarily know about it. So it is raising the awareness constantly.
One of our songs is about, it's called Red, and the whole idea of it is about the fact that we all bleed red, and we're all one, so we should treat each other as so, and so there shouldn't be hate crimes and prejudice and things like that. And before we played it today, we did say we dedicate this one to Sophie and Sylvia.
Bloodstock, this is going to be our last song of the day, and I want to dedicate it to Sophie, Sylvia, and the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, because we all bleed red, and we need to treat each other with respect, and we are all one.
Yeah, it's just fitting, and there might even be people out there that still don't really know about it, so it's always good to sort of spread awareness, and the sooner we can sort of make things like make awareness, it just needs to be talked about.
Story, but you guys did something absolutely phenomenal for Sophie this year. For those unaware, what was it that you did?
Right, so we wanted to do something for the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. So we got told about we kind of knew about the Friday Pink thing. So it was like, it'd be fucking cool if we was to help towards that, do our band fucking logo, obviously, but have the Sophie thing on there as well. But just donate the t-shirts to the foundation.
Yeah,
100%.
Whatever money is made from the Sophie stage, that goes to the foundation. That doesn't come back to us at all. That is our gift to that foundation. It's something that we all strongly believe in.
Yes. My mate Dave Moomin is cutting off his entire beard, which is like it's down like here. Is really long.
Yeah, fair play to him. I heard rumours he's getting someone from the axe throwing people to do it.
They're not doing it with an axe, are they? Because he's going to die.
I believe that's what I heard yesterday.
He's going to fucking die.
Please video it. We need to see that shit.
It's not going to end.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They had obviously the T-shirt amnesty and Rocksock. We had the charity donations that came through. The bar staff gave all their tips this year as well. And then Alan, the bar manager, said he'd match whatever the tips were. So that ended up costing him deep in his pockets as well. So, everybody understands why we do what we do, and they're happy to support it. So, we'll just keep on doing that. I think it's the good thing to do. It's the right thing to do.
It was absolutely beautiful to see everybody coming together for something that they really believe in, and I've come away feeling really humbled that actually there's such a beautiful community that is really behind us and loves everything that we do, but we couldn't do it without them. They are the backbone of our foundation.
Well, this year marks 16 years since Sophie's attack, and the question needs to be asked: are things getting better now? Are we living in a more tolerant world?
I think, particularly over the last few years, the metal community and the metal style and all this, it's become so popularised. It's so commercial now that, whether for good or bad, I know there's a lot of people within the metal community who probably don't like that because it's a kind of taking of the culture. I think it's a great thing because it makes it more accessible and brings people into the fold, and that situation is probably going to stop things happening to other people because it's becoming more aware and not seen as unusual, which is important.
You're absolutely right. It is getting better. It is definitely getting better. Like you were saying there before you couldn't get a job if you had a tattoo on below your
job
forearm.
stoppers.
Yeah. Now you go into a bank and there's someone serves you and he's got tattoos on his hand and arm. I was like, yes, I like this.
I love that. I'm like, I want to give this guy my money. He's gonna fucking look after it.
Yeah.
He seems like a good lad. Yeah. I like.
So true.
It is, though, isn't it? Yeah. It's the same thing again. The silent nod. You're like, nice one. Yeah. No. It's definitely it is more inclusive now, and I think that's important. That's cool. You know, I think heavy music, rock music, generally is a really good place. You know, a couple of years ago, I don't think it necessarily was in a similar situation where you wouldn't hear much guitar, based music. Whereas now, the stuff in the charts is, we'll get
Bring me the horizon.
Bring me paving the fucking way. Like, it might not be most people's cup of tea if they're into the heavier stuff, but there's an important thing that band's doing, and they're being a gateway band for other bands to ultimately, brings people to see our shows, brings people to Bloodstock. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool as fuck.
Absolutely, it really does.
So much work to do still. There's, a lot of people are a bit more accepting now because of the goth image on TikTok. You've got e-girls and you've got bigger communities within communities, but there is still some stigma around some of the communities that we have in the alternative community. A lot of people still think that punks are like anarchists and goth people. There's still those kind of stereotypes that linger behind, and as long as there's those stereotypes there, people are still going to think them and act on that by calling names and even worse, and there is so much work to do. There is a little bit of acceptance, but actually we can do one better way, and we can get better and better every time.
And that should happen, but then you see it less these days. It's not so much a thing. Which I think is
Alternative culture is starting to become way more normalized. Like, you look on like TikTok and stuff, like you look at like rappers now, and they look like this is not an insult. They look like emo kids from 2008. Like, I see like some of these trap rappers, and I'm like, you just look like a MySpace kid. Like, but it's becoming more accepted. Do you know what I mean? In that case, because it's becoming a more mainstream thing.
And I think if you gathered some young alternative women here and asked them how that's those same questions you just asked us, I'd hope that they'd answer differently. I hope they'd feel that it is a safer world, and that certainly in the metal communities it's a safer community and environment than it was when we were 16, 17. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, as an older gentleman, I'm quite excited about what the younger generation are going to be going through, because now it's like, no, don't do that, don't say whatnot. I was like, personally speaking, growing up, I said I went to a very mixed area, but I was into everything and anything. I'd fucking listen, I'd play football, I'd go and hang out with the metal lads, I'd go and do anything just to get along and have a laugh. And I think what I'm buzzing about was the younger generation. There's such a thing now of, no, that is wrong, and they will tell each other. And I think things are going to be really different moving forward, and I think that's something as a grown up now to be excited about. And I'm excited to see like how the younger generation will fly the flag for themselves and the people around them. And
She's that big of a part of it.
I mean, like, outside of this, I do teaching, and I think the thing that's really special for me, because I have a lot of people say, you're covered in tattoos, you're covered in piercings, do they allow that? And I'm like, well, if they didn't, then I'd be like quite offended by that. But what's great for me is I have all the young metalheads coming to me like, have you heard of Knocked Loose? And I'm like, yes, I've heard of Knocked Loose. Like, come on, man. Like, no, they tell me what to listen to, and I'm like, I've not heard of them. On my break, I'll listen to that. And that's a way for me to interact with younger like metal musicians or up and coming, and that makes me feel that if like I've got a face full of metal and that don't really matter, like I'm just myself, so absolutely. To answer your question.
No, it's amazing. It's funny because we were talking to someone earlier on, and they'll point out like 10 years ago or so, you couldn't get a job if you had tattoos below your forearm, you had piercing, stuff like that. So it is great that is changing. There is a bit more acceptance, but there is still work to do, unfortunately.
As times have moved on, and from what I've seen as sort of like being a teacher for like 7-8 years and things like that, and what I've seen of sort of like, it's like you teach a class and you can clock where like your emo kids are, and it's like, you love my chem, don't you? And stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, and then it's like, oh, you watch a lot of anime, you don't you? Like, yeah, and it's way more inclusive compared to like when I was at school and things like that. There's a lot more people who open to listening to other types of music when you've got what I would sort of like kind of like label as sort of like your emo kid, your mosher kid, and then you've got your maybe more mainstream chavvier kid, and both of them are having a conversation about Slipknot. and those are the things that I've seen that I've been really pleasantly surprised by. And I mean, it's bad for me to label a kid and put into a box. Well, you're an emo kid, you're a mainstream chavvy kid, and things like that. But that's more from sort of like my upbringing that is happening less and less, and I think that's meant.
It is.
And it's something that I'm doing less and less. That's from very early teaching perspective. Is that
we're both music teachers, so we do make an effort of trying to like talk about different genres of music in our classes, and like
That's incredible.
you know, and like showing each other everything from Ed Sheeran to Slipknot, and you know, I'm a big folk.
I'm not showing anyone a tune.
Not even the Bring Me song.
Oh, I have shown that.
Yeah.
I have shown that. Yeah.
Can't believe you just lied to me.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
heartbroken right now.
It's hard to deny that although there has been huge steps forward, there is still work to do.
Being young alternative women is hard, and I say that I am in my late 30s now, so I'm saying this retrospectively, but being a young alternative woman is really scary. It can be really scary. And when you come into an environment like this, you realise that actually there are lots of like pockets and safe places for you. But walking through a park alone at night is not one of those places then, and it's not one of those places now. And even as an adult who, you know, I've still got blue hair, I'm still an alternative, but I'm not the, you know, the little mole goth I would have been when I was 20, you know. But it's still scary.
So what can we do going forward to help the younger generation, to help them be confident and proud of who they are, to support each other as a community, as this great alternative heavy metal community?
Education is key to everything that we do, making sure that we're not just targeting kids, we're targeting everybody, and ensuring that they have that dialogue, that they can go, right, this is what's going on, this is how we can help, this is how we can't discriminate against these people, because at the end of the day they do go through these bouts of hatred, and it shouldn't happen.
Be yourself. That's basically the thing that I've struggled with my I've had low self-esteem for a lot of years and internalized it, when really we're just 20,000 people in here who have all had exactly the same imposter syndrome, thinking, why am I like this and not like everyone else? There are a lot of people who are, to an extent, closeted in the fact that they want to dress the way they want to be who they want, but they can't because of this tyranny, really, in modern society. I would say, be yourself, keep at it, stand up for yourself. It's not an easy thing when you have family members even, and people that you rely upon, even religious kind of strongholds and cults that kind of force you to be a certain way. Just stick to yourself. Not to mention, you don't have to look a certain way to be a certain way. You can be yourself without having to adhere to it. I have heard that a lot of times when I've been drunk in places, and they've been drunk, and they've said, you know, I love all the death metal and stuff, I just can't dress like it, I wish I could dress like you, and I can't. And I said, you can, just be yourself, you know.
You do find that a lot. Like, I used to have long hair halfway down my back, and I gave in to bullying, and I cut it off.
Yeah.
And part of me does regret it, but then part of me thinks, it was a nightmare to brush in the morning, I get it, it's fine now.
Well, I mean, nature's making the choice for me at this point, you know. But the long hair doesn't make the metalhead makes the metalhead.
Absolutely.
Debating topics is the best way to change people's views and to avoid shit like that, because that's very, very fucking unfortunate. And we know that those things still happen in today's world, but we need to change it fast. We all know some of us still feel the same with other genres. There's some metalheads that are too afraid of pop, for example. Let's fucking face it. There's a bit of both ways in the same coin. And come on, there's so much we could learn from those people. Not just fucking pointing fingers at TV and just saying, oh, fucking sell out Beyonce or stuff like that. I mean, those shows are fucking amazing. There's stuff that we could learn from all sorts of ways of performing art. So I think it's time. It's time for everybody to just grab a beer, sit down and talk. I mean, this is the time, and
I think talking about it is the most important thing. I think a lot of people are afraid, or they feel they're a burden,
And I think it's important to let everybody know out there, you got to speak up. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling like an outcast, if you're having suicidal thoughts, say it out loud. You're going to find somebody who's either A, been through that before, or understands what it's like. Empathy, sympathy, they go a long way, and the conversation needs to continue and be loud. And that's what I'd say is step one, say it. Say you're not okay. And let somebody know that it's okay not to be okay.
They're talking to kids, all the kids of all different backgrounds, all different, not just musical preferences, but religious views or colour, ethnicity. Obviously, with the LBGT community and all the rest of it, and getting to those people and just saying, look, be cool. We're all different, but that's what makes us all wonderful and unique. And in doing that, what that does is that changes the culture and allows people to be able to express themselves and hopefully grow up in a time where they will be safe and people will just be more and more tolerant and accepting. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to change culture. And once you've done that, then hopefully it's a safer world for everybody.
And branching out a bit, maybe to festivals and events and stuff that aren't just, what's the word? It's like a hive mind here, isn't it? Because like you say, everyone is here to celebrate metal, but I guess maybe if you were to go to places that weren't just loving metal, they might be a bit like, what's this? Why do they look like that? They might have more questions that you could address there.
Well, it comes down to education and awareness as well, isn't it? So that's the way of doing it. It's like spreading the word out there and actually getting involved within the community, within the towns and the cities, and just getting the word out there.
And that community space is really important, for getting out there and talking about it with other people. Because like I say, if it happens, ultimately nothing can go back and stop that experience from happening, but what's important is the follow-up from that. Do you have people you can talk to? Do you feel supported? Can you talk about it and process that? Because obviously a lot of trauma is just unprocessed information about a thing that happened to you. So having someone that you can openly, and of course not everyone's going to understand that experience, whereas like you're saying about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, if you speak to people from that, they've had that experience. They know it can be hard. Sometimes people are like, I don't get it. What they shouted at you because you had long hair. I don't understand. And I have to be like, it's just sometimes that community space is super important.
I think the thing is as well. I think a similar experience for both of us as kids is we were part of a small group of people that liked alternative culture and liked alternative music. So when you've only got 3 or 4 friends that way, it's difficult to understand yourself as part of the larger metal community and understand that these people are out there, So it helps us find our people, that's the thing,
But certainly things like this, bringing your children to this sort of festival, educating children from an early age that actually is about the quality of your character and everything else is largely irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's got to start, because I don't believe people are born racist and prejudiced and homophobic. That shit is learned.
Yes.
And if we can stop that from happening from an early age, we're onto a winner.
I think personally we need to do a lot of work with kids on social media, because I think one of the biggest problems kids are coming up against, whether they're being taught it or they're experiencing it themselves, is social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or whatever it's now called, Snapchat. But I think that's where parents need to step in and be really mindful of what the kids are doing. I think I'm very against kids at a very young age having certain social media platforms. I also think there needs to be a lot of online awareness, shall we say, of bullying, because I think the problem is the online bullying side of things is so horrific. And I see it. I use platforms like TikTok and Instagram, and unfortunately I see it. And I often step in to make comments, but when you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people abusing somebody, this is, I think, a huge problem that I don't think even people realise how big the problem is.
So making sure there's mental health support for people who are bullies as well, because chances are they're probably getting bullied at home.
Yeah.
So
I think that is something that is something that I don't think people realise that much. People bully for a reason.
They learn it from somewhere.
Yeah.
There's very few people who are just inherently dickheads. Sorry, when I swear.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, and I think it's very important. Yeah, they get that help as well. It isn't just let's look after the person that got bullied, of course, But let's get to the root cause. Why are you bullied?
Yeah.
What are you going through?
I definitely think access to sort of resources, for mental health, things like that. Frequently asked questions is always a good one, or things so that kind of support is invaluable. I used to be a primary school teacher before I left it, unfortunately, to pursue music full time. And one thing that we were always sort of we would do with children who were suffering with mental health is just give children a time of day, and B, you've obviously got to provide parents with adequate resources to be able to help their child in an effective way. And I sort of think that, unfortunately, I don't know whether Sophie Lancaster Foundation does this already, but it would be really good if there was some kind of, a bit like, it's a totally different example, but remember, Talk to Frank was a free resource for people struggling with drugs or alcoholism or anything like that. Just that kind of thing of, I want to dress this way and I'm getting bullied for it. What can I do about it? What can I do to, A, report it if it's bad enough, or B, what can I do to help myself cope and hopefully overcome?
I know from my point of view, when I was first sort of getting into metal at 12, 13, and you don't know anybody else, you don't know where your local metal family is or where the events are and that kind of thing. So I think if there are events where your alternative crowd can go and you don't feel like you just got to sit in your bedroom on your own listening to your records because nobody else understands you, if there's maybe more sort of, like I said, group activities, but if there were, I've always been a big advocate of underage gigs. Get the kids in and see bands and feel that live music, and not only that, but like we get here, feel that
with parents.
With parents, so you can feel part of that community. Yeah, if you can, that there are people around. There's people that dress like you, people that like what you like. But at the same time, people then to sort of go, oh, I'm 15 and I want tattoos. What do you think? And you can go right here.
Yeah, that's when you get to show him your tramp stamp, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you do, your first one's going to be rubbish, so don't worry about it.
It doesn't need to be your name on your back.
But there's so much sort of wandering in blind.
Voice of experience.
not me. Not me.
But when you're young and you don't know, and it's if you were new into metal and you walked in here right now, you'd probably think, oh my god, what do I do? Who can I? We all look like scary buggies. We've all got beards, long hair. Even the women are dressed up covered in.
It's a bit harsh.
Covered in leather and spikes, and you think, oh my god. So if there was a way to sort of introduce that to a younger audience, those that need it sort of most, and then from that you build a support group.
I think safe spaces. I think there's a lot of kids who are, with social media coming up, in some ways is a really brilliant thing, because some of these isolated kids can find a place online to connect with people. So I think a combination of physical safe space, places for them to actually come together. We love playing our shows, but the majority of our shows have to be 18 plus, simply because of the licensing, the venues that are around. And I think there's so many kids that would love, teenagers and things, or, with their parents or something, that would love to come to more shows where they can, accompanied by an adult or things like 14 plus.
Yeah.
I've from my hometown, how I got into music and was able to accelerate more into that was because there were 14 plus venues. Whereas when, I moved to Brighton, met all these guys there, but there's only 18 plus. Yeah. So I think maybe a push for 14 plus venues, improved licensing, could be really, really beneficial for the scene and for all the lost weirdo kids that need a place to have fun.
I'd love to see them work with the MVT. I'd love to see them work with the MVT and do more stuff.
MVT's Music Venue Trust.
Yeah, Music Venue Trust, and do so much work with them, and really, really push to get kids in venues and get them seeing bands, being like, you're not alone. We're all fucking weirdos. Go be fucking weird. Be proud of being weird. We all are. Go be proud of it.
And it goes back to that therapy thing like I was saying earlier. 14-year-old kids had a shit day at school. What's better than going out, listening to some heavy music, throwing your head around and just letting go?
Oh yeah, I was useless at school. Not in a bad way. I'm very adamant to put this on the podcast. I have ADHD. I have dyslexia. I have generalized anxiety disorder. I am literally the fucked up kid. and I wouldn't be able to go out on stage and throw my gear around like an absolute lunatic without having found my family. And that's what kids need.
Thank you so much to everyone that took time out of their insanely crazy busy schedules to talk to us over this incredible weekend. You're all heroes, champions, and legends in our eyes. The work of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation cannot be understated. One thing we can take away, however, from this weekend was that although things are starting to look up, there is still so much work that needs to be done. And all your support for the foundation is so important in helping us achieve Sylvia's goal of making the alternative subculture a strand of hate crime. It is clear as back then as it is today that people are still being targeted and treated differently simply for the way they dress, for the music they listen to, for basically being unapologetically them. Hopefully, together, we can bring all this to an end. Please keep flying the flag and spreading that message of the foundation, and head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com. And remember, no matter how hard times really get, you are not alone.
Kids will have. I met a teenager now this year who was 18, and he's been coming to the festival since he was 6. And it's just, and he's like, you know, I'm coming on my own now with my mates. He's like, but my mum and dad brought me, and I'm like, that's brilliant. That is what it's about.
We've all been Sophie. Not in a kind of literal sense, but we've always been that bullied people. I don't know anyone who is a metalhead who hasn't had that negative experience and that kind of abuse in the middle of the street.
Because part of it, as much as I love it being inclusive and stuff like that, but it's also like your thing, do you know what I mean? When, when you're that like kind of awkward kid in school, and it's like so you're like with other awkward kids, and it's really nice.
Yes.
So we're all a bit odd, and like together, being odd.
It's great, yeah, it's great. We're a family of oddness.
Yes,
it's great, yeah.
It's cute.
You're so right, it's funny.
Yeah, it's always nice to just be able to say her name every time and remember her. Like, so when we say like we're playing 5 p.m. on the Sophie Lancaster stage, you can kind of be like, yes, like just saying her name keeps her alive. You know, so much like she deserves to have a full life, and she'll never be able to like grow up and stuff. But I guess in our hearts and our minds, we can still say her name and remember it.
Are we going to get some more fire from Callum?
The community always looks after itself. The community is always there for all of the kids here.
Mate, you need to go into politics, bro. Seriously.
Did you find that there was the weirdest insults as well? They're not exactly like cutting to the bone sort of thing, like cut your hair.
Yeah.
No.
No,
if that's right with you, I'm not going to.
You got holes in your jeans. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're opposite. Yeah, your observation skills are unbelievable. So yeah, well done.
I used to get more annoyed when they used to get the genres mixed. I'm like, oh, goth kid listening to Nirvana. I'm like, they're grunge actually.
Yeah.
Please get it right.